Hey, welcome to the Gig Life Podcast. I'm your host, Stevie Taylor. Excuse my voice at the minute. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, bit of a bug thing going on. Anyway, is what it is. I hope you're all doing well. Festive season is here, so stay safe and be well and look after yourself and your crew. My guest today is guitarist extraordinaire Paul Mason. He's a cool cat, man. He's involved in some great projects, including Rattlesnake. He has a Jeff Beck show and a bunch of solo music. So we talk about all these projects and a bunch of other stuff. So that's enough from me. Let's rip in. This is episode 140. Paul Mason, here we go. I think we're rolling. Paul Mason.
Hurrah!
Welcome to the Gig Life Podcast, man.
How are you? Thanks for having me. Thank you so much. We've been trying to get this going for a while.
We have, and I think I originally invited you on the podcast. I think it was. Hang on, let me look at the messages. It was really early on in my first year, I think, of the podcast, and
that's
2018
right.
or 19 or something like that. But yeah, we weren't able to get it happening. And then you're right. We've the last 3 weeks, I was supposed to come out to your place, and the first week, I wasn't very well. Last week you weren't very well.
And then I got sick.
And I'm supposed to be at your place now, but we're actually doing this remotely because my wife's gone out and I'm here with the kids. So,
it's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good. Yeah, but let's totally have that beer at some stage.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome, man.
So what's been going on?
We have been.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say you mentioned that you had a Battlesnake gig last night.
Yeah. We did a very Battlesnake Christmas was the gig was called, and we've played at this. It was at Avalon RSL. It's the awesome pub venue vibe, and it's nice up there. You know, we've played there probably 4 times now over the 5, 6, 7 years we've been doing it. But a lot of the guys are actually from up that way, so it's a bit of a sort of hometown kind of feel to that place. So it was good. It was nice. It was a hot day, but it was a bit of a Christmas sort of party for the Avalon. It was that venue's kind of Christmas party, I think. So it was semi-themed, but it was just a gig.
Was it just
it was cool.
Was it just you guys, or was there a bill?
There was a support. It was a guy called Beano Blip was the support, and he's a really cool vocalist, lyricist, producer type person.
Right.
He's great. I'd never met him before. He was awesome. Jimmy Fuller was playing guitar with him.
Right. So for the people that don't know, just explain a little bit what Battlesnake's all about.
Okay. It's the kind of it's a thematic rock metal throwback, band, and it's kind of like metal, but it's kind of prog and classic rock as well. But it's pretty unique. We've been pushing at it for about 7 years now, and I'm one of 3 guitar players in it. Myself, Dan Willington, and Ben Frank, and we all kind of grew up together, and it's like the brand. It's just the branding's really strong, and we've been really fortunate with that band because there's 7 of us involved that we've all worked a lot in the professional musical world, and coming together to form something. We all wanted to do it in a way that was going to be as potent as we could make it. So, and it's tricky because we all kind of have our own personalities and our own proclivities in terms of what we like and what we hear and the way we write and all this kind of thing. But it's been like a really it's been going pretty well. Like the band has a pretty solid organic fan base now, and we've been able to been lucky enough to have some pretty cool and big opportunities over the last 6-7 years by the virtue of the fact that there's the concept of the band, there's access to all of the 7 networks of ours, and the fact that like we've tried to make it completely as it really is unique, and it is like amazing in a sense that it's super high energy. There's a certain amount of virtuosity there, and Sam Frank, the lead singer, is a really gifted. I mean, everyone in the band is like super gifted in their own way and stuff. But Sam, the way the songs are about all these thematic things like medieval witchcraft and wizardry. It's real nerdy stuff, but people just love it, because we've all got a soft spot for like, things like Lord of the Rings and Tolkien and things like that. And that kind of comes into the world building. But then there's this whole other side to it that it's like amphetamines and like, we've got a song called The Road Warrior. So there's a lot of that kind of imagery as well, like, which really suits the metal kind of aesthetic. And, or like the rock kind of, the rock aesthetic in that sense. So it's cool. It's challenging because, we've had to build, we've all been pushing at it for so long. And while the band has been making clear steps in a positive direction, we've all had to juggle our own lives in and around the thing. And obviously, we have, it's, for me, it's cool for me to be in an awesome band with guys that I love and guys that I regularly am learning from, just as a person and creatively as well. But also I have a lot of there are definitely other avenues that I want to, that I have and would like to continue to pursue as a musician. But Battlesnake it's has to be, you have to see it live to sort of get it. We've got a song called The Call of the Succubus, which is that song, people love that song.
Yeah.
And Dan Millington plays this incredible solo in it, and I kind of bring my sort of thing that I do on the guitar, which is the voice that I have and the way that I do it. And we all kind of have each a little moment to sort of showcase a bunch of little moments throughout the night. And Ben as well. Ben's a really awesome, really beautiful sounding player in that more of a classic rock Gibson through a Marshall type style, Dan's kind of like this alien, and then I kind of have my sort of pretty unique thing that I do. So it's cool. That was sort of how the band sort of started. Was Ben wanted to form a band. Ben Frank wanted to form a band with his two favorite guitar players growing up, So it's cool. It's been it's been an interesting few years, but we're all pretty excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, that's cool. So I'll put some links in the show notes so people go and check out the videos on YouTube.
Hell yeah.
And then it's exciting. It's certainly one band that I want to come and see live.
Oh, please. Yeah. You've got a beer in your hand all night because you will want to drink. It's like, that's why the venues love us as well.
Yeah.
We've got pyro, we've got CO2 cannons, we've got lasers, because there's so much production that goes into it. And the music is like so high energy that if you've had one beer, it's like by the end of the set, it's people drink, like they want to lit up, and that's that's part of why we've been successful up to this point and have been able to build that organic fan base, which is it's hard to do. It's been a huge amount of work for all of us over the last few years.
Yeah,
but it's definitely music. So it's drinking or running or it's or you're driving at 190 miles an hour.
Yeah. Do you have I've just got this image in my head. Like I see these videos and reels pop up sometimes of a band playing and the crowd, all they do is just beat the fucking shit out of each other. They're throwing kicks and punching each other, and they're enjoying it, eh? So
yeah.
Do you get any of that at your gigs?
We do get a little bit of moshing. Yeah, there is a little bit of moshing.
This is extreme moshing I'm talking about. This is like they line each other up. Like they know they're coming and they're going to cop a forearm, and they're bracing for it.
yeah. That's definitely boisterous, like male vibes. At a thrash. I call that more thrash. I mean, in my opinion, that's more of a thrash concert type thing. Yep. Whereas, I mean, like there is a little. We definitely do have a little bit of that, but we also certainly want people to be safe and for everyone to have a good time and everything. And we definitely don't want anyone getting hurt or pushed around or bullied at our shows. But when people are drunk and rowdy on a Friday and Saturday night, you definitely do get not to the level of that thrash, like big day out thrash vibes. But there is a little bit of that.
Yeah,
sure,
gotcha. All right, man. What we might do now is roll it right back to the beginning.
Sure.
Like, let's talk about your childhood and your musical upbringing and that kind of thing. So, what I do know is you have a twin brother and he's a bass player, musician as well.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your your mum and dad musicians or other things in your band, and what kind of music was around at that time when you were growing up.
Yeah. So my dad was a musician, like a guitar player, frontman type person, sort of in the style of kind of Chuck Berry or Little Richard, someone like that. And he's awesome, like very, very much in that kind of a style, like that rock and roll, because that was what you played back then. I mean, people still play that kind of music today. It goes absolutely off, but he's got a very sort of unique style. And he was awesome. He did a whole bunch of work around the clubs in Sydney. He went to England and London and toured around there for a number of years. And but he kind of came. He had this roofing company at the same time. So the music thing for him, it didn't have to be the sort of be all and end all. But he loves it. Like he loves playing. And he still plays, and he's still awesome. In my sort of early life, I kind of hit the jazz thing pretty hard. So he wasn't as into that. But in terms of like your sort of more pop music of the 60s and 70s, he's definitely across a lot of that stuff. Like he introduced me to people like Eric Clapton and Mark Knopfler early on. And they were before I kind of started really hitting the jazz thing, because I started playing guitar when I was about 5 or 6, because my dad had this little Stratocaster, Chinese copy of a Stratocaster that was tiny, and so I was mucking around on that as a real little kid, and then I would get lessons and stuff as well, but I wasn't super serious about it until I sort of got to high school, and I kind of crossed that threshold where I sort of had put in enough time where I could kind of play a few things. And then so I didn't really start getting serious about it until I got to and my father's name is Ken Mason, by the way. His stage name back in the day was Kenny Ansett, and he was in a band called 50s. Then he had a band later on. A lot of it was sort of club stuff, but he was right into it, and he's a bloody legend. My dad. He's a bit deaf these days, but we love him.
Well, that's
So if I fast forward,
that's good.
oh yeah, sorry,
That's good that you love him, even though he's deaf.
yeah, we love him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been really good to Nolan and me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's your dad. You know, you'd hope so, but we love him. You know, like any father and son relationship, you grate a bit as you grow up and stuff.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, so you go. I was going to. So your brother Noel, right? So did you guys both start playing around the same time? And
yeah. So Noel.
No, go on.
Yeah. So Noel. Yeah. So Noel. Noel kind of didn't get to the. I kind of knew. I kind of had taken the interest in the guitar early on, and I kind of stayed with that. I mean, I had other interests through high school, like we did martial arts, and I was like a pretty half decent tennis player as well. So I was into that. I was quite heavily into those two hobbies as an adolescent. But when I got to about year 7 or year 8, the guitar thing started to I started to get more obsessed and was putting more time into the guitar. And Noel at the same time was kind of playing, he was sort of flirting with the piano and the trumpet up until about year 11. And so in year 11, by the time I was in year 11, I was already playing in big bands. I'd kind of wrestled with this jazz thing for a while, and I kind of had started to get what would become my sort of concept on the instrument. I had the workings of it by that time. I could read music a bit. I could play through changes or whatever. So by that time, I had sort of graduated. I was in I went to Newtown High School at the Performing Arts as well, and that was a huge, hugely cool and amazing thing and a huge part of why I'm I call myself a working guy today.
Yep. And Abe was at Newtown too, wasn't he?
So that was the point I was going to bring up. Okay. Year 7 and year 8. Noel found the bass in year 11. I'll circle back to that. But year 7 and year 8, I get to this school. I got in for music. I didn't get in straight away. I got waitlisted in because I thought Noel and I were maybe going to go to Joey's. We were going to maybe even go to boarding school. We didn't know what we were going to do or something. I think which I'm super glad that wasn't going to happen because it just God knows how much it would have cost as well. Yeah. But anyway, so I'm in Abe, and that was where I met Abraham, and Abe was a huge part of my early influence. It was Abe and his dad Victor, who Victor Rounds, that introduced me to people like Lee Ritenour and Pat Metheny. I can still remember the first time I heard Pat Metheny. That was like my whole life changed. It was that solo that he played on Have You Heard? The song is called. It's a minor blues. Now I hear it, I'm like, it's actually a minor blues. But at the time when I heard it, because he just was doing this thing where he would just be dancing around the harmony, like the free flowing nature. Because I'd been listening to like Knopfler and Clapton really up to that point. I hadn't this whole like way of just dancing through the harmony that he does. I hadn't heard that before, and that completely floored me. Obviously that I think I'd heard a bunch of George Benson stuff as well, but obviously Benson's kind of like the king of kings. But I still remember that was a huge, and it was Abe that showed me that. And then I can still remember going to Abe's house as a kid. We're in like year 7 or 8, and Victor's like learning. I think he might have been doing Dancing with the Stars at that time or something, some like big TV something or other. He's going through the music for it, and me and Abe are just like, play Rio Funk, do like the flat bass thing, And he was like full doing it, and I thought the slap bass thing was like, it is cool. It's it's like it can be considered I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything cheesy. What do I know? But, I mean, half of the stuff I do is probably, could be considered cheesy. But yeah, I don't know. At the time, I just thought that was so cool. Like to see someone actually to hear a piece of music like that Lee Ritenour stuff and then that Abe had showed me, and then seeing his dad just killing it on that stuff. I was hooked. I was like, I want to get to the point. And Abe as well was like, at the age of 13, got into the senior big band. It was like the dude, all that work, all that time that it took me, my high school career to sort of catch up, he'd done in primary school because Vic just got it. He was already naturally gifted because Vic's a bloody legend. And he kind of had already done all that work in primary school. So the dude was like a pro at the age of 12 or 13, And I so admired that, and I still do. Like Abe's such a hugely special person and special musician, and I was determined to see whether I could close the gap to get to the point where I could sort of hang in a musical situation with him, and be of some validity, which I eventually definitely managed to get to, but it took the next kind of 5-6 years of really studying and getting trying to demystify this whole jazz improvisation thing, which everyone has to figure out how to do in their own way, But it's funny, like I went right through that, and I was introduced to people like later on. I heard James Muller, I still worship him. That was like, it's like hearing Hendrix for the first time, And again, I'm seeing these guys do it live, It's something different to like seeing someone that I'd heard about as well. I'd heard like whispers of this James Muller person.
Yep.
And then I'm down at Mount Gambier doing the Generations in Jazz Festival because I was in this states-wide selective big band with the arts unit that Abe was in as well for a couple of years. And my mate Brendan Clark is like, "Is that Muller? Hey, is that Muller?" And I'm like, I'd never seen him before, but I'd heard whispers. And he's playing this AS200 guitar, one of which he's playing one of these things, these like John Scoey models, right? That's the first time I heard him play. He was playing one of them. And again, it was like that. It was like that same feeling that I got when I heard Matheny the first time. Like it was just, there was something, because it was like unique. Like Muller has this thing where there's like, he has this sort of Scoey Hendrixy thing, but then he's got the beautiful free-flowing jazz vocabulary as well, and it's like he's kind of married them in like this beautiful way that he's got that edgy Aussie thing, that like I feel like the Australian guitar zeitgeist, there's this edge that a lot of us have that I think is really special, because I think we've got I think the guitar players here in Australia are, I mean, I'm probably going to sound like a dick for saying this, but I actually reckon our axemen are better than the Nashville guys. I mean Brent Mason, incredible. But you look at like Muller, Ollie Thorpe. I saw him play the other night with Friedman. Like, man, that dude's. I grew up with him. He's really a contemporary of mine. We did the Wangaratta Jazz Awards together. Back in 2012, but that dude's, he's amazing. He's a beautiful, really close friend of mine, but he's also someone that I have such an admiration for now, just seeing how he's got his pedal steel concept thing, and then he does the Derek Trucks kind of open tune, not the Derek Trucks is open tune, but the Barracuda kind of slide open tuning thing, and then he does the sort of standard tuning thing as well, and I'm watching him going like, wow, it's, you kind of like playing three kinds of guitar as good as I can, or as I can play one of those kinds of styles of guitar. It's like, no, but it's cool. I love him. He's doing my Jeff Beck show in January. It's going to be fun.
That's great. That's cool. That's the Factory Theatre.
Yeah.
We'll talk a bit about the Jeff Beck thing a little bit later. So just circling back.
Yeah, we can touch on that.
Circle back to your brother. So just on the twins thing, right? So I haven't met you, and I haven't met Noel in person yet.
Okay, yeah.
But I know what you look like because you both look the same, obviously, because you're twins. But I was at a gig. I was at a gig a couple of weeks ago for Juanita Tippins' EP release.
I was there as well.
Okay, this is what I'm getting to, right? I was standing at the back. I saw you. I was standing at the.
Cool.
I was standing at the back of the room, and I saw you, but I didn't know if it was you or if it was Noel because I hadn't met you before.
Yeah,
because we've been chatting, trying to set this up, right? So we'd been talking, and I saw you, and I'm like, I don't want to go up and say, hey, hey, Paul. And then, oh, no, I'm not Paul, I'm Noel. I just would have felt like a fucking knob. So I just, I saw you there.
Man, I understand the feeling and the sentiment around that, but never, I tell this to people all the time. It happens. First of all, it happens all the time, and for us, like, oh, cool, this is another person that I've already knows, might know Noel or might know me or whatever. For me, it's like, oh, I get to have double the amount of potential friends,
Gotcha.
But I totally get it, and I think I'd had a couple to drink that night. But I would have, I'm surprised I didn't see you because I kicked around there for quite a while. I'm surprised I didn't bump into you because I would have said hello, surely.
I was standing up the back. As soon as the show was ended, I left because I had to get home. So I didn't stick.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but yeah,
I remember spending most of the night at the bar.
you were there. You were just hanging.
Yeah. And watching how many rounds the Mossy was buying.
Yeah. No, it was a top night. It was a really good gig. And and that EP she's released, that's a cracker, man. Really is.
She's awesome, man. Yeah, she's so good. She's been she's like a very important person in the sort of fabric of like the scene.
She sure is.
Because when I first sort of started doing gigs around the scene, I did a couple of Sweet As gigs with her back in the day, and I was like, man, she's like, it's very
Auntie Neats,
proper pro vibes. Yeah.
Yep, it's Auntie Neats, man. She's everyone's auntie. She's awesome.
She's mad.
Yeah. So all right, so you got in Newtown arts unit, that kind of thing. Now, when did the gigs start happening? How old were you when you were at Newtown? So were you able to go out and play at that age? Were you playing?
Yes.
You would have been underage, obviously.
So, so the gigs sort of started. Yeah, so I did the whole arts unit thing, and it was all like it was, and then I auditioned for the con after I finished high school. So I went to the con. I ended up getting. It was pretty cool. I got an early offer getting into the conservatorium. I was like the only guitarist in the whole state that got offered a first round offer. There was like 5 or 6 of us, and so I did that thing. But then I kind of burnt out there, because the whole tertiary, about 2 years into my con degree, I started getting gigs in town in the music scene. I got semi offered to do a musical that I didn't end up doing, and I was like, well, I'd actually rather like just work and like be a working muso. That I wasn't enjoying being at uni and doing the jazz course. But I should have finished it, I ended up dropping out after 2 years and just because I was doing gigs. But before,
sorry, just on that then.
Yeah.
So you dropped out. Is there any chance that you can go back?
I actually deferred.
Okay.
I deferred, so I could go back, but I just got so tied up trying to get my life together in the last life just happened, so I haven't gone back.
Yeah, fair enough.
I might. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. For the moment, the just sort of playing music and professionally, it's been working. Like obviously, we could all be doing more and better and stuff, but for the moment, I'm busy and I'm happy, you know.
Yep. So what's that? What's that bit of paper going to do for you? Hey, you know, if it's already working, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Unless you get to a point where you know you've sort of made your money and you're steadily working and you've got time to go and do it, then you go and do it, I suppose. Hey, otherwise, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the time it doesn't. Oh, I mean, actually, so I feel like they're cracking down on it now with certain teaching things, but I don't really like teaching anyway very much. I mean, I teach from time to time if I have someone want to come and learn from me specially. I enjoy doing that.
Yep.
But just kind of like the meat grinder, student after student.
Yep.
You know, that I've the very small amount of that I've done. I was like, this life's too short. The other thing I want to touch on as well was from high school, I got like this break. There's a guitar player called Tom Ferris that it's a really good guitar. Yeah, who you'd know about.
Yep.
Awesome guitar player around town. Awesome composer, like beautiful arranger, composer guy. Really reads, like, probably one of the best readers on the guitar in town. He's like sort of known for being a good reader, which is rare because usually guitar we're pretty bad as a general rule. But he was playing a HSC performance on the same day with a friend of mine, and he heard me play my HSC performance, and he was like, oh man, you know, because I played a couple of cool tunes or whatever. So he was doing this album launch. He'd written this album, and he needed like an auxiliary sort of guitarist that would maybe, because he did a lot of this acoustic nylon stuff, and I sort of, you know, so he kind of gave me this break on doing his sort of album launch. So I got to play with like Chad Wackerman. I was like 19. I think I was sort of just starting at the con when it all when that all happened and stuff. But that as well was a good little break for me, because a lot of guys that know Tom that were working guys around and sort of older, you know, uncles of mine, I'd say, a lot of those guys sort of got to hear me play. And it was the kind of thing, because it was such a big break for me and I was a young guy, like I had it all to prove. The amount of obsession and preparation that I was putting into it, you know. I mean, I still work on stuff for gigs these days and everything, but the attitude was a little bit different back then. Like,
yep.
I was showing up I was ready to kill, man, you know, like I was, and I had the younger ego as well, you know. I just thought I was the best guitar player in the world, you know, and I needed everyone else to think the same thing, you know. I probably did. I feel like I play quite differently now to how I used to, but definitely I probably would prefer to listen to the way I play now. But then I see the occasional throwback video thing. I'm like, fuck, how did I, you know, there's definitely some facility there that is different, you know. I'm like, oh wow, I was like, fuck, that was impressive, you know. Because I was a young guy that needed to impress everyone. I mean, maybe I'm still that guy. Maybe we all are. But that was a big break for me, like getting to play with Chad Wackerman. He played with Frank Zappa and stuff. I was like, whoa.
And that would have been when Chad was living in Sydney, right? Because him and Pete Northcote had a recording studio.
Yeah.
So it was around that time.
Him and Pete did it. That's right. They shared that place in St. Peter's, didn't they? I think it was just after Chad had left. So I think he had moved away, but he came back. I think he was coming back. Yeah, he came back for something else, and I think he played on that album of Tom's. And but that was cool. I was lucky for me. And Tom still, you know, I don't see a lot of him these days because we're sort of, you know, obviously both just living our lives and stuff. But he rang me the other day because I was doing a single launch for one of my own singles, and he got in touch. He was fully meaning to come down, but like you and I the last 2 weeks, he was like, man, I was totally going to come and surprise you tonight, but I'm fucking sick as fuck, you know. So I got to ring you and let you know. So maybe Jeff Beck, maybe Tom will be there. I love Tom. He's a bloody
that's cool, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So okay, so you've you've left the con. You're gigging at the sort of height of that. Then how many gigs were you playing a week? And how many different sort of bands and acts were you involved in, or were you just sort of sitting in with one thing?
Yeah, so I left the con. Like we started doing the Monday Jam about like a year or so before I left the con. And to be honest, partly probably the reason I left the con was because I was doing that gig on a Monday night and I had classes on Tuesday that I would just miss them every time, you know. But I was a kid. I was such a young kid. I was like, oh, the gig thing and like, you know, people and I was, you know, single and I was, you know, I was like, it was all new for me, you know. So I was probably burning the candle more than I should. But at that time, I got because I feel like at that time, because I had this sort of versatility as a player, like I had this jazz concept, like I had a really solid like strat thing. I understood how to like learn a song properly or like play the part that is going to like showcase what that song is, you know, like from a guitar perspective. So I kind of feel like we're talking sort of 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, those years, sort of around that, those 3 or 4 years, like I feel like my name really kind of got around, you know. So I started getting calls for all kinds of different things like corporate work, musicals, which I kind of, and still to this day, I've always just instinctively sort of tried to stay away from, I guess. I don't know. Not that it's not a cool, I may end up in a pit at some point in the future, you know.
It's certainly its own thing, isn't it? It's like, you know, it's similar to what sort of happens in my work. See, I'm an electrical mechanic, right? And there's so which means like I'm in a workshop all day, but there's also an element of our work that involves people going out on site all over the place, right? Some people are like a pig in mud, going out on site, being out all the time, and some people just cannot stand being in a workshop all day. Whereas that's where I'm at my happiest, you know. So I'm kind of
for sure
in that sort of sense. I'd be happy in the pit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I totally hear you. It again gets back to people's like personality and personal, like your proclivities for what your lifestyle preferences are, you know. And I'm still figuring that out myself because I knew I didn't want to just do like one thing for a long stint, but I knew I wanted to make a living playing guitar. But I wanted the what's the word, like it's such an easy obvious word, the variety of being in a scene and working with different people in that scene. So around that same time, Daryl Beaton bloody rang me to do Stan Walker's gig, and that was my first taste of like a big label gig, you know, big flight. You rehearse, you're getting paid to rehearse, then you show up and you fly to Brisbane or wherever the next day and you do the gig. So I did that a couple of times, and then he was still MDing for Jess Mauboy, and then her band changed, and all of a sudden now there's an opening for a guitarist, and I got that gig. I was with her for the next 12 years, you know, and that was like a huge breadwinner for me at the time. Along that, because obviously, you know, she's an incredible and hugely popular artist, and she's awesome. We love her. So obviously I had this big, I had this high ticket pop gig that I would obviously prioritize because the money was pretty decent. And then I was doing the Monday Jam. So I was connected into like the local scene through that gig, which I still do and still am in that way. And so I was able to yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I had people asking me to play on their records all the time, but I was doing a lot of band sort of gigs and stuff. And I mean, it's funny, like where I'm at currently, yeah, like I mean, Battlesnake is taking up quite a bit of my when Battlesnake is like on, when there's stuff to do or we have shows. Yeah, Battlesnake is a priority, and obviously, and also Jess is. I don't have to worry about the maintaining that anymore because she's changed her whole band and her whole lineup now. So my tenure with her is at this point is finished. So I have more time to put into my own stuff. And I think as a guitar player, as a guitarist, there is a certain entrepreneurial thing that you have to develop at some point, because I think the work eventually in some form or another dries up for all of us in some ways, like you look at Dominic Miller and Sting. I mean, Dom's been with Sting for like 35 years.
Yeah.
That's a special case. I was prepared to be that guy with Jess, but there were unfortunately circumstances going on that were not in my control that meant she had to change her team,
Okay. Well, can I ask?
But,
you don't have to delve too far into this, but I'm just curious as to how would that make you feel, right? Because, and how does something like that come about? Is it just a phone call or an email one day saying, that's it, we're changing, or was it something you got to sort of prepare for? And
as in me
when you finished up with Jess, yeah.
Oh, when I finished up, yeah. Well, yeah, it was a phone call, yeah.
Okay.
But it was just really circumstantial because she had to check. Daryl's he was finishing up with her,
okay,
because his life is sort of changing around in a few different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so she needed a new MD, and then with the MD was Melbourne based,
okay,
and then
and with
okay,
I understand now.
It's just, yeah,
okay,
yeah. So with new MD, unfortunately, it comes new MD's guys, which is fine. That's the way it is, and like 12 years is a long time, It was probably nice. It's probably a welcome. In some ways, it was. I do miss it. I miss playing those tunes, and I miss like doing that big rock guitar thing that I did in that band, because it was pretty special, and I was able to develop it over such a long time. It was cool. Like it was a really cool sound, in that because so much of when I would come and learn that stuff, I was like, the Sony label thing for a guitar, for me as a guitar, nut, I was like, what am I supposed to do? There's nothing here, so I would just kind of like develop a way that something that, was unique to me, where I would like come up with these parts that I could really, get my rocks off, and it worked. Like it was, it was cool. They all really, it was a good vibe.
First time I saw you play was with Jess, and it was I had.
Oh no way!
Yeah, was at Parramatta Park, and I had just I can't remember what the festival was or what the day was for, but anyway, I was playing in a band called Fat Rabbit, and we had a little. There was like a little I don't know, trailer, I suppose, and we played a set there. And it was sort of during the daytime, and then sort of over 100 meters to the right was the big stage setup, and that's where you guys were setting up. And I remember it was a bit of a sound.
Yeah, right.
And I stayed around and watched a bit of that show, and it was fucking awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it is. I definitely moped around the house for a little bit when I got the news. Yeah, it's like. But Daryl did like the thing. It was really special what he ended up kind of building for her over that time.
Yep.
And I mean, her new band's awesome as well. But yeah, it was cool. It was great. I miss the experience of like just playing that music. I really enjoyed playing those tunes, you know. Even though it's not necessarily music that I would listen to for my own leisure,
Yeah.
but they're bloody cool tunes. She writes incredible hooks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And a big
Songs are great.
mainstay in that band too. I guess we need to mention him was Kev Mendoza, and
well, yeah,
tragically Kevin passed away not too long ago. So I don't know if you want to share any stories about sharing the stage with him. And
well, yeah. I mean, Kevin was like, I mean, we all loved him. We all loved him, you know, and he was like. I just remember him. First of all, you know, I loved playing with him, and I remember him like most for just he was such a positive person. Like he was just so, just infectiously like positive over the course of, because I worked with him in that band probably for like 7 years or so, you know. And I just always saw him as an extremely well-rounded and well-put-together person, you know. And he was like, and he was funny too. I mean, we would always have a laugh, and also with things that I was going through at the time, throughout those years, you know, like with certain, you know, relationship things that I'd been, you know, heartbroken over someone or this, you know, he was always a really awesome person to talk to about that stuff, you know, because he'd been through it all as well back in the day, or, you know. But yeah, it's crazy, and like we all, you know, that hurt everyone, because I heard that it was some bacterial thing, like he got some cut on his finger, so it would have sounds like it was completely preventable, but he was just away from any way to treat it, you know. So that just made it hurt even more, you know.
Yep.
Same with Jeff Beck dying as well. That his was a bacterial infection. He's had meningitis a few times over the course of his life, but that supposedly is treatable as well. You know, I would have loved to have had another 10, 15 years with Jeff Beck on the planet, you know. And Kevin, I mean, that's just ridiculous. The guy wasn't even. Do you know how old he was?
No, I don't. To be honest,
he wasn't even close to 50.
Early to mid 40s. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
Which is, that sucks, man. You know,
anyway,
that's hard. Yeah.
Let's have a drink for him, man. Cheers.
100%, man. To Kev, yeah, bro. Yeah, man.
Okay, so the Jess thing ends, and like you said, it was a phone call. So, what did you do next? What did you have? You had some other things on the boil at the time, because I mean, obviously you said, I mean, a gig like that, you're right. You need to prioritize it. Everything has to, you know, take the back step.
I would just plan my professional life around it. Like, that. I mean, you know, you just and same with Battlesnake. That there would be an occasional, you know, unfortunate Battlesnake has a gig, and then here's Jess's gig or whatever, and so there would occasionally be a little bit of it. I'd have to negotiate there, but it always ended up like there was always a way of making it work.
Okay.
You know?
Well, just quickly then on the with the Battlesnake thing, if one of you guys can't play, it's not a case of swapping someone in and out, or is if one of you can't play, that's it, you don't play. Is that how it works?
In a perfect world, it's all 7
or nothing.
Original, or nothing. Yep. But unfortunately, that was initially the consensus. But unfortunately, just with the fact that there are financial concerns and the fact that the band has had to say yes to certain opportunities, we've our bassist Elliot Hitchcock. He's overseas at the moment just for work.
Okay.
And his partner moved over there. So yeah, we're doing gigs without a bass player. But then we have a really cool gig coming up where we're actually getting a bass player for that show.
Okay.
You know, so and the occasional gig, like I had to take one gig off with Battlesnake because of a Jess gig, and they put me on a track for that one gig. It's lame, you know, and the guys don't enjoy it. But, you know, unfortunately it's these things, it's just the reality of the situation sometimes, you know.
Cool. All right.
But perfect. Yeah.
Perfect world.
There's no steps, no members down, you know.
Yep.
That's the aim.
Yep, that's cool. So before I rudely interrupted, you were just talking about how you're going to navigate things when the Jess thing ended. So what did you start doing there? Did you have to hustle a little bit?
I feel like I was still busy because I always have a steady kind of trickling in of round town work, and with the Jam, I have 2 residencies at the moment. One of which I'm going to go and play later tonight, and it's just like this blues sort of gig residency thing at a bar in town called the Baxter Inn, and it's awesome. I get my which I need to see if where's Gelder, if he can do the gig tonight. Anyway, I'll get.
Yeah, sorry. So people, just before we hit record, Paul's drummer dropped out, so he's he's hustling for a drummer as we're doing this. So
exactly. Because Warren Trout, who's normally does it, is
he's doing the ministry.
He's got to have some.
Is he doing the?
Oh, not Warren.
Oh,
no. Warren's got to have some minor sort of hospital type operation thing, so he's going to be out of action for a little while.
Okay.
So he normally does it. He normally does the gig, but it's all a bit topsy turvy at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've been lucky because I feel like I always have a somewhat steady amount of different work coming in, and obviously, you know, I have quiet weeks like we all do, but I'm able to sort of keep relatively busy. And when we're in lockdown, I because everyone's always associated me with Jeff Beck anyway, because I did that kind of like pseudo whammy bar thing. But during lockdown, I just kind of thought, you know what, like stuff it, like stuff my, you know, original artistic integrity. I mean, I can still do that if I still can go down that path. But I just thought, fuck it, I'm going to do a whole show of Jeff Beck stuff, you know. Might as well just lean into it if people are sort of associating me with that anyway.
Yep.
Here's Gilder. Come on, can you? Okay, cool. He's going to read me.
Okay.
But anyway, so I just thought, I'm going to do an evening of all Jeff Beck stuff. And so I did that like 3 or 4 years ago. I started doing that. And then all of a sudden the dude dies, you know. And so I'm thinking, I sort of already had the show kind of in place and established. Like I had the band and I'd done a few shows and things like that. I'd advertised a little bit. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll make it like, not rather than Paul Mason plays the music of Jeff Beck, it'll be Paul Mason's evening in honor of the great Jeff Beck, you know.
Gotcha.
Who the late great Jeff Beck. And then so that was just a super stroke of luck. I was just running on instinct. The day he died, Peter was the first person I rang, you know, because I knew that he had met Jeff and stuff, and at that time, I you know, Peter can fill a 400-seat room on his own. You know, at that time, I couldn't hope to sell anywhere that near that kind of those kind of numbers. And I wanted it to be big. I wanted it to just be a big show, you know.
Yep.
So then I rang Jeremy Sawkins like after that, and again on instinct because I'd just seen Jeremy posting photos of Jeff Beck and Jan Hammer at the Horden Pavilion in the 70s that he was at. So I rang Sawko, and then I got a really good friend of mine, Trent Carroll, to come and play as well because he and I had, you know, I feel like our whole friendship was based on how much we both love Jeff Beck, you know. So anyway, it was all that was sort of the team, and then Jeremy is just good mates with Dom Miller, you know, And so it just was a super stroke of luck that we were able to have Dom and Sting come and be involved. It was lucky in the sense that Jeremy, I'm not even sure how Jeremy knows Dominic, but I think Jeremy spent some time in London and must have become his friend at some point.
Yep.
Because Dom's come out and done workshops here that Jeremy has helped him organize, that has Jeremy's teed all that stuff up before, and like clinics at AIM and all that kind of thing as well.
Yep.
But yeah, so it was a super stroke of luck. And Sting, man, like you can tell, like he's like myself, like he's a band guy, like you can tell that he's a muso. Like that was the feeling that I got from him, because I was in a bloody green room with him, I'm like, oh, it's fucking Sting, and it was just like the way I'd watch the way him and Dom would interact. I'm like, man, it's just like, this is so familiar to me, like this, what the dynamic of the relationship and the interaction that I'm seeing. So familiar. It's just like he's a muso. I'm sure he's probably he butted heads with Stuart Copeland for years. He's dealt with all that, but Dom, it's a different.
I don't think anyone would butt heads with Stuart Copeland. He's a pretty full on personality, eh?
He's got an ego you could complain over.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think Sting is from what you're saying here, like I get it, but I think for some people they think Sting is a bit of as a human is, I don't know, a little bit sort of what's the word? A little bit coarse,
Yeah, like he definitely has any person of that is of that kind of at that level, a person that has that kind of status, the guy lives in a castle and he's worth $300 million, and he's world famous.
Yeah.
Of course, someone and I've like been privy over the course of my life up to this point, like I've I was backstage I saw Gene Simmons, backstage, like he didn't speak to me personally, but he went and had a quick chat to Elliot, our bass player, when we were backstage opening for, with Battlesnake. But I've been really lucky to like kind of be literally brushing shoulders with these like,
guys. Yep.
And like, this is such a cliche, but they're just people. They respond to, like the same things any of us do, which is just kindness but then again, that there's egos involved as well, and in the music game it
has to be, doesn't it?
Yep. We have to sort of negotiate with each other and make sure that everyone's getting out of it what they want to be getting out of it, and that could be, say I'm hired to like I did a gig the other night with Phil Burton from Human Nature. Yep. Hire sends me the charts, I learn them, rock up, great gig, cool, pays me, send in my invoice, awesome, great, I'm being paid to be there. Completely different dynamic to me rocking up and doing a gig in Battlesnake that that I'm not making money to at this point, because the band costs so much money to run. But there are certain expectations that not only I have, that the rest of the band has as well, and I need to adhere to that, and to a certain extent my expectations need to be adhered to as well, because then otherwise we have people getting grumpy and feeling like they're not the band isn't fulfilling their creative dietary requirements, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so there's things we need to navigate, and I'm sure Sting has like dealt with every every possibility of anything that could happen in making his career what it has become, But it was awesome. I mean, that gig. The thing that I want people to know about that what happened that night was that, and this is like part of my shtick where anytime I do any kind of interviewee type anything,
Yep.
is that the Australian music scene and the Australian musician, particularly in Sydney. I mean, obviously there's outliers in every state. There's great musicians across the whole country, but yeah, like I feel like we are valid, on a global level. But we're so isolated out here. We kind of, it seems like we're all just fighting amongst ourselves,
Yep.
in some ways. But when Sting saw that gig that I put on, he was blown away. First of all, he was blown away by Noel, my brother, because Noel is incredible, and Sting's a bass player. Yeah. So he was actually most impressed with Noel.
That's cool.
And he was super impressed with Warren Trout. Like, he loved the rhythm section, because that's, and there's something that's why I love playing with. That's why obviously Noel is my identical bloody twin brother, and he's an animal. He spent 4 years living in Harlem doing a master's degree in upright bass.
Oh, really? Wow.
So the dude's, yeah, his ears are so huge, And then Warren's just like Warren Trout. His reputation completely precedes him, and there's just something like he just like knows how to play in a way that makes everyone fucking kill around him, And Noel's just got this sweet thing. I mean, Victor has it too, and that's what I was always, because Noel's sort of like, I kind of like had my thing together by the time I was leaving high school. Noel kind of started playing bass at the age of 17. I already had it all together. I already gotten into the con, blah, blah, blah. In 1 year, Noel gets like good enough to get into the con, because it's crazy. Like Noel's incredible. But I had always hammered into him, like, man, like, try and go, like, he was doing the upright thing, but I was like, try and like get that sweet thing that Victor Rounds has when he plays the Lecky bass, the electric bass. There's this thing that Vic does that, like, make sure you see if you can handle that, because if you can get that together, you will be like so bulletproof. No one can touch Noel on the upright bass.
Yeah.
He's an absolute animal.
Wow.
And because he spent all that time in New York, he's completely surpassed me in terms of like the jazz stakes of things. I'm sort of like taking more of this pseudo sort of rock route, even though I still have that jazz vocabulary to sort of inform all of that. But I think, as a guitar player, there's the personality in it. I mean, I don't know. I just want to play. I want to play like. I love jazz and I love all those guys I mentioned, but yeah, I still want to like play big shows. Yeah, I want to do like big. I want to continue to do like big iconic shit. And I also and I just think like rock guitar is a little more conducive to that rock, right. Or rock pop or pop session guitar,
Yep.
But yeah, so to circle back to that point, Sting and Dom were like loved the gig, because Sting sent this message to Dominic. Oh, he didn't send a message. Dominic relayed Sting's feedback in a text message to Jeremy, and I have it. I could read it to you.
Yep.
He loved the kid that played the weird Indian-y shit on the Strat. That was me playing Nadia, the tune that Jeff covered, which is an Indian lullaby, originally by Nitin Sawhney. But he was so impressed. They both were. They were like super impressed with the level of musicianship that they saw, because Sting saw the whole first set,
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that's the thing. We're so isolated here, but we have our own community and our own thing.
Yep.
But it really is special, and I think like I'd love for us to be a bit more part of the global music zeitgeist, and especially with the guitar stakes globally. I definitely want myself and Dan and Ben and the whole Battlesnake thing to be, that's my kind of vision for that, is is for that to kind of put us on a world stage. And then once that happens, then I've got this whole concept and unique thing that I've done, which is sort of like Jackson Brown meets Jeff Beck,
Yep.
I'm like, cool. Can I, maybe I can make a really good go of that. But for the moment, it's just hustle, hustle, hustle. I'm booking. I did Avoca Beach Theatre.
Yep.
The other night was my evening in honor of Jeff Beck with a few of my originals peppered in, and it was awesome. And I get so much like zest and life out of putting those gigs on, because I get to, it's, a lot of the time I'm like either a sideman or a band member in the case of Battlesnake, but like I need to put a thing on where I'm like, it's like my creative
I understand. Yeah.
thing. Yeah. And I'm so great. I'm always super humbled and grateful to the guys that I'm able to get to come and do that. Obviously, it's always a paid gig, but they're still giving me their time and their attention. These like Shannon Stitt played keyboards for me the other night. Justin Duggan, he's just had twins, but he's coming and doing a gig. So I'm like, I worship the ground these guys stand on because they're coming and being part of my little vision.
That's cool.
But like they're both. Yeah, and Noel as well. Noel comes and plays. But Shannon and Justin, like, they're both, like, dads,
Yeah,
I'm like, coming and driving to the Central Coast to, like, do a gig with me. I'm like, fuck, so grateful.
It's to get away from the kids.
And Warren as well.
It's to get away from the kids, man.
Well, I mean, we had a bloody great time. I've got to say, it was cool. It was really fun.
Yeah, because I spoke to you the day after, didn't I? Because you sent me you sent me the message in the morning. I was like, I can't talk, I've lost my throat stuffed. And yeah, I asked you about that gig because my in-laws lived up there for 15 years, I think.
It's beautiful out there.
Yeah, so both my kids, both my daughters grew up on that beach, so I know it really well. I know that theatre well and that whole area. So, and I was it was a shame that they weren't still living up there because I would have been there for sure.
Oh man,
yeah.
Are you able to come on January 10th?
Yes, man, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll make sure you're on the guest list and that there's a beer in your hand.
I pay my way, man. I'm going to buy a ticket like everybody else. No need to do that.
Well, we'll be absolutely having that beer though. That's for damn sure.
100%. Just
yeah, man.
I'm going back to the Sting thing now. What I find fascinating, and I'm curious, and you may have noted this. I'm not quite sure, but someone of that sort of stature, not he's a celebrity, right? All over the world, everyone knows who Sting is, right? So he's at your little gig at the Factory Theatre. Was it Factory Theatre, wasn't it? Is that yeah? So he's there, right? And you said that he sat and he saw the first set. So did people know he was there?
Yeah, people, because he had I don't know. I wasn't privy to like where he was sitting, but my parents were at that show, and there was the word was getting around, and they were like, "Fuck you," they're like sitting there,
Yeah. So what I find interesting is, were the crowd then all of a sudden focused on the fact that Sting was sitting over there? Because something like that can kind of take away from your show. If you know what I'm saying, eh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got someone of that.
Yeah.
It becomes not everybody's 100% focused. I'm sure there were people 100% on their show, but then it becomes about the celebrity in the room. You feel that?
I personally, I didn't. I actually felt that we had the audience's undivided attention because again, it was because it was all about Jeff.
That's good.
The reason Sting was the reason that Sting and Dom were happy and enthusiastically.
Yep.
Because Sting, like Dom, because that was how Jeremy set it up. Like Jeremy was like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing for Jeff," and then Dom came and listened to us rehearse and heard that we're all fucking legit.
Yeah,
and then just like told Sting about it, and Sting was like, "Oh, what song should I sing? You know, like just like it wasn't even like
awesome.
you know because those guys, you know, Sting, we all loved Jeff so much. Like, you know, like Sting and Jeff were sharing musicians, but to the point of like people swarming Sting and not paying attention to the gig.
Yep.
I totally get it, but I definitely didn't feel that happened at my show. I think he would have just been there and people would be like whispering, you know, because they're all like, you know, people, they weren't like youngs. It wasn't an audience of young. It wasn't like a Beatles concert in the 60s
I understand.
with an audience of young girls, you know, where they're all like sort of, you know, and a lot of them were like sort of an older, you know, Jeff's fan base, unfortunately, is like a little bit up, a little bit on the way up there in age group, which is not good for me. But can I even say that?
No, I just had to ask that because like I'm, you know, I get curious about that kind of stuff. And sometimes they're the silly questions I ask on this podcast. You know, it's where my
totally.
Where my mind
I get it.
The other interesting thing too is like, you were doing the show before Jeff died, right? And it's, you know, it's sort of a, like you said, playing the music of Jeff, but then then he dies, and then it becomes a tribute.
Well, in a sense, like it was, you know, it's a tribute. It is a tribute. I mean, even aside from the fact that in my marketing I didn't want the word tribute anywhere near it, because it has you know, RSL and cruise ship connotations, you know, in a sense. But it is a tribute. It's me tributing to Jeff. But I think I just started doing concerts of his music, and because the other thing is he's not like David Bowie or Sting or someone. I mean, like, he's famous. Like, he is definitely famous. Yep. But he's kind of like, that's why I find him so fascinating as well, you know, because I had that like, I did my sort of jazz diet through high school and into my sort of professional career. Like, I had a real fluid thing together. But it wasn't until like I was already like a working dude. I was probably 21, 22, 23 and I'd always known about Jeff, but I never really got it until much later.
Gotcha.
You know, like, I'd start listening to him and I was like, man, there is something like so raw and raucous and obviously unique about, you know, he just has that. And I feel like as I've come up, like, a lot of people have even as I was a young kid, when I first sort of got my, you know, soloing, my voice together on the guitar, a lot of people said that I had my own sort of a voice, you know, but I really hear that with Jeff. It's like he plays like one note or two notes, you know, and it's like so unmistakably him, you know, just having that, like, that voice, and it's like potent, like it's like sizzlingly him, you know, and I was really drawn to that, you know, and I was also drawn to like how playful he was in the way that he approaches certain music, you know, and certain things, and I was also drawn to the sensitivity that he is able to generate. Not that generate's the best word in that context, but just like the way that he plays a melody or like plays a phrase, you know. And I think that is quite suited to my approach to the instrument as well. But it was I was lucky. Like, just after that whole thing happened in February, Slava Gregorian rang me because Benny Houtman had tipped him off that I'd just done this Jeff thing, and they were going to do a big tribute to Jeff as well. So they got me to MD and star in the Adelaide Guitar Festival presents.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay,
Jeff
right.
Beck.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
right.
And we invited Muller to come and do it.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So I got to play Jeff Beck music with Muller.
Yep.
I was just like, Jesus, this is amazing, you know. It was so cool. So Tim can't play tonight, so I need to look for another drummer. There we go. There you go. That's fun.
That's fun.
What are we? We're 2.5 hours before the gig.
Yep. I haven't played. You could ask me, but I haven't played in a little while, so it's probably not a good idea.
Oh, next one.
Next one. Yeah, no. Hey, so going back to the Jeff Beck thing, on this podcast, we've done a few episodes which we call like the spotlight episodes, and so the first one we did was a Jeff Beccaro spotlight. Then we did a Jaco Pastorius spotlight, which was all bass players, and the last one that we did was a Simon Phillips spotlight. So it was myself.
Oh yeah, hell yeah,
yeah, myself, Glenn Wilson, Gordon Rittmeister, and my old drum teacher Lance Phillip. So what we have to do there is we all choose 2 songs that Simon Phillips has played on, and then we play the song to the group, and then we all sit and we all talk about it. Well, 2 of the songs.
Oh man,
yeah, 2 of the songs. Like the first time Gordon Rittmeister was, knew about Simon Phillips was at this concert, and Jeff Beck came on. Simon Phillips was playing drums, and they played The Pump.
Yeah.
Yep. So The Pump was one of the songs that we sort of studied in this podcast as well. And then
cool.
And then the second one, Glenn chose I just don't remember the name of the song now. With the double bass drum. Oh fuck. What's it called?
Oh yeah.
What's it called? It's Off There and Back.
Yeah.
Oh, Google. Hang on. Google.
Yeah,
yep.
It's one of the
Jeff Beck.
Oh my god. That's annoying. That's bugging me now too.
There's people listening to this now yelling what the song is.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang on, I'm looking.
Hold on. It's one of those ones with Terry Bozzio.
No, it's Simon Phillips.
That he played.
Simon Phillips.
Oh, okay. But I think he played that song on that Terry Bozzio tour after he did the Guitar Shop record. Because I know that song because I watched those live clips.
Okay.
I can't think what the song is though.
Hang on.
Is that the song?
Space Boogie.
Oh, Space Boogie. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know why I lost that. Anyway, so there's going to be a couple of minutes I cut out of this podcast there of us waffling around trying to
that's all right.
find the fucking song.
Oh mate, I've been waffling up a storm, mate.
Yeah, no, it's all good. No, it's all good. It's all good polite talk, man. Yeah. So yeah, because I always knew who Jeff Beck was. Wasn't really didn't get into it until I started sort of studying for that particular podcast, and then listened to the live version and the original version of The Pump, and then listened to There and Back a few times, and then I started seeing some videos of you doing your show, and then sort of not understanding how to do it, but seeing that unique technique that he had, because the guys on the podcast would talk about how he did the whammy bar thing,
how he did that,
and the volume thing, and then once I saw that, it was completely unique, which everybody that was his thing. I don't know if you checked your Facebook today, but I tagged you in something that popped
I saw that. Where were you? Where were you?
Wow.
Where were you on?
He's just,
and I've watched that
standing there, emotionless in his face, and he's just standing there, and the crowd were just like blowing away, right? So he would correct me if I'm wrong here, but he would say if he was given his guitar and it was out of tune, he wouldn't tune it. He would bend and play the certain way if that guitar went out of tune. Is that right?
Well, it's funny because I've spoke to this with Les Rankin, who helps me keep my guitars maintained sometimes. Les is a bloody legend, love him. He he can, like, I've seen him on concerts. He'll touch the, if he's out of tune, he'll tune it. But then there's concerts that one Les saw a concert of his in Sydney. He didn't touch them all night, you know. But funnily enough, on the video that you sent me, his guitar is actually out of tune.
Out of tune, yeah, you can hear it, eh?
Yeah,
Yep.
the G string is it's either the G string, probably a combination of the G string is flat and the B string is slightly sharp. But he just like, and that. Well, I kind of think, and also the whammy that he had, like the whammy was loose as well.
Right.
Like that particular performance for him was like him just wrestling. I can see it still sounds amazing,
Yeah.
you know, but I can tell that like in his mind, he would have just been wrestling to get to the end of that, you know, which
right.
is crazy, which
That's
is like, I feel like because it's like, you could tell it's like, out of tune. But also it's funny that you mentioned that you tagged me in that particular song, right? Because that song is, in my mind, it is almost an amalgamation of of every, it's hard for me to even put into words, but that piece of music kind of encapsulates how innovative and unique and special he was. It's kind of, in a way, is all encapsulated in that one piece of music. Because, and that's, funnily enough, like, you know, when, you know, I mean, once we get off the phone, I'll pick the guitar up and show you how I play that piece. But
yeah, cool.
That piece is it's kind of like my arch nemesis in a way. Like I almost practice that more than anything else on the guitar.
Gotcha.
That piece, because he plays the whole melody with the. It's all done with the whammy bar.
Yeah,
you know,
it's amazing.
And it's a feel thing. It's a feel thing. If you think about it, you know, it's like you're never gonna get it in tune if you actually think about it. Like it's a real mental thing. And I've been, you know, I've been attempting to play that piece of music for the better part of like 10 years now, you know, and I get pretty close.
Yeah,
you know, some of the time, you know, But yeah, that it's funny that song, that in particular, that song "Where Were You?" And there's a few songs. I mean, there's so many Jeff Beck classic songs that when he you know, like he just was he broke new ground as a guitarist in the Yardbirds,
right?
You know, Jeff's Boogie or Heart Full of Soul. You know, that sitar-y lick. It's like, there are so many examples of his playing that had just never been done. We've never heard anything like it. First time I heard Nadia, or first time I saw him do "Where Were You?" We'd never heard anything like it. You know, we'd never heard the guitar make that sound, you know, in that way. And that's why, you know, out of all of my influences, which are vast, you know, and the jazz thing is a huge thing for me, you know, like your Matheny, Muller, Schofield. I love Wayne Krantz as well, Benson, you know, Wes Montgomery. You know, it's and obviously like Clapton, Knopfler. But out of all of those people, for me, and you know, obviously why I've like, you know, why I tribute to, you know, why I'm doing a show of mostly his music. You know, it's like out of all of them, Jeff for me is just something, you know, else. You know, there's something not to take anything away from any of the people that I mentioned.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. It's
like even Hendrix. I mean, I never really got super into the Hendrix thing, you know. It was just, and I mean, I hear it, I've heard things, I'm like, wow, you know, there's no one else that'd make that sound before or since or ever again.
Right.
You know, Jeff's like that too. But I don't know, for me, I feel like the thing that Jeff does, is probably more achievable for me in some ways.
Okay.
You know, with what not to say that I am able to get anywhere near what he did. Like I'm not, but definitely, I get in the ballpark in my own way, like with his stuff,
Yeah, I mean, and through all that, you'll end up with the Paul Mason sound, right?
Well, yeah, I definitely, exactly.
We do, man.
Yeah.
We try and
We're
imitate.
condemned to it.
We try and imitate until we find our thing, and I don't think anyone's sitting back and going, "Oh, you bloody Jeff Beck, try hard." No, man, they're going because you've got.
I hope not.
You've got your I can see the way you're playing that stuff, and I've also seen videos in the last few weeks, of you playing, and also that time I saw you play live. You had your thing there anyway, cool. So now you bring your thing to the Beck thing, but it's still you.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, all good. I had some friends of mine. I got this message. This is a while back when you played the Jeff Beck show down at the Bird's Basement in Melbourne. I had a couple.
That gig was
Sydney friends,
awesome.
A couple of Sydney friends of mine were here, and my mate sent me a message going, he took a photo of the Bird's Basement. We're in Bird's Basement, and then he goes, I'm just we just watched this amazing Jeff Beck show, and I went,
mad.
Yeah, I know a couple of those guys. I was just away to him. Yeah, so after this, I'm gonna send him a message. Go, I just interviewed Paul, the guitar player.
Oh man, that's so cool, man.
Yeah, he loved it.
They were there.
They were there. They were there. They were down in Melbourne.
That is awesome because that gig was really special.
Yeah, cool.
That was so fun. Like we had Brett. We got Brett Garsed to come and join us for that one, and he's coming up to Sydney as well. And so is James Muller as well, by the way. See, I'm pulling out all the stops from Sydney. Oh, it's bloody awesome. Jeremy, James, and Brett.
And Noel playing bass. Was it playing drums?
So unfortunately, Warren is not able to do it, but Gordo.
Oh wow, Rick, that's so good.
It's Gordo, because I did this Australia Day gig. At the last Australia Day, right before I'd put that, shortly before or after I'd put that gig on, I can't remember. But I'd been doing the stuff, and he'd seen that me and Gordo had like a fucking hour and a half, 2 hour long chat, over some catering about Jeff Beck. Because, like you mentioned, like Gordo is a Simon Phillips nut,
man.
And he was telling me about all these recordings, probably one of which you just mentioned, that I wasn't hip to, So we had a mad fucking yarn about that. And Gordo and Warren are like super bros, and they they flick each other work all the time and all this sort of shit. But unfortunately, Wazza he's got to have a hernia operation. So I spoke to him today, but he'll be cool. It was just really bad timing. In terms of, he's like he has to have it all handled at this certain.
I understand
at that point.
Yep, gotcha.
Look, Gordo, I'm keen. It's interesting playing that music with a few different guys, But obviously, Warren. It's kind of Warren's. Warren is it's sort of Warren's gig, because Warren's like my bro.
That's cool.
But it's going to be fun.
It's
going to be cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, good stuff. Let's talk a bit about your solo music. And so one thing that I saw today, which I hadn't noticed on your Instagram before, is that you've got a few pinned posts there. I saw the Sting one and the Jess Mauboy one, and then the other picture is just like the pinned post itself. You can just see a little bit of your guitar, and
it looks crap, doesn't it? It's like a crap.
So I'd never touched it before, but I clicked on it today. Actually, I wonder what happens when I do it now. It might actually start playing the.
I tried to fix that because it's such like a nondescript like thumbnail. The thumbnail is just like it's like this much of me, like it's like my chin, and then some like god awful shirt I for some reason decided to wear on the day.
Yeah,
some terrible Bridge shirt. I'd so regret that. Anyway, whatever.
But yes, I clicked on it and I started watching it, and man, that's fucking amazing. I got goosebumps.
Oh, thank you,
just
man.
listening to it, and your voice. Like I didn't realize you sang as well. I mean, fuck no. Just it's unreal. I got goosebumps again. So,
thank you, man.
Too easy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So people that are listening to this, when you check out Paul's Instagram, and now you know what that
the third post,
the thumbnail of
the third pinned post,
leopard skin shirt or something.
The shirt's awful. So please, sorry about that shirt. Yeah, disregard that.
Click on that. Watch that video. Listen to that song. It's absolutely beautiful.
I think bloody Northcote gave me. I think I inherited that shirt from Northcote. But like once removed, because my other mate Benny Isaacson gets a whole bunch of Pete's clothes. Oh, and he's like, Paul, I got a whole bunch of shirts for you. They're cool, like showy shirts, but I look at it now and I'm like, oh, it's a bit too showy, it's a bit too like. Anyway, but yeah, it's a song of mine called "I Won't Go to Waste," and like I've got a handful of original tunes that I write, and that's that gets to that point of what I touched on before of like my original. It is like a cross between like Jackson Browne and Jeff Beck. Yep. Like the songwriting is in the style of someone like Jackson Browne. It's like folky, harmonically dense, But then as soon as I get a chance, I'm like into the, fisticuffs guitar vocal,
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
In style of in somewhat of a way that maybe Jeff may have done, maybe.
Okay.
But no, I appreciate that, and I've had a lot of super positive feedback on that particular clip, which I did. It was a long time ago that
2019, I think. I read today. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it was a long time ago, and I still play that song. I mean, the thing is, those original pieces of music, like they take me so long to figure out, to write, that song, and also I've got a couple of others. I have a small handful of tunes that are of that caliber.
Yep.
I'll send you through a couple of things.
Yeah,
but I'm really like, I'm biding my time in terms of, I basically want to approach things in a way that's going to be simple for me, in the sense of like I just want to have a few things in place. Like, I don't know if I want to like go. I don't want to, I've been to America 4 or 5 times, like trying to, for lack of a better way to put it, like make it. But in my mind, I was trying to make anything happen. It's like I've got to, there's the whole. I mean, I could still go and do that, I guess, but I would much rather get it all happening from here. Like I said, the scene here, it's incredible.
Yep.
The level is so high. But yeah, like I'm biding my time in terms of like how I want to I'm definitely going to be putting another single out next year, put it that way.
Yep.
But I want to keep building on that stuff, and any kind of organic that's the thing. I just tried to write something that was meaningful and potent to me, and you're right. And I'm super, I know, because I've had a lot of people tell me that when they hear that song, they're like, fuck, it just hits me fucking so hard, and I get goosebumps.
In so many ways though, because it's so dynamic.
Yeah.
And you're
thank you,
like,
man. Yeah.
and your guitar playing's hypnotic as it is, but then when you start singing, and I wasn't privy to Miles Thomas until
recently. Milesy.
And it was actually Les Rankin that mentioned him, because during COVID I brought a fretless, because we all brought something.
Oh, cool.
We all brought something during COVID, right? So
we all went absolutely crazy as well. We all went completely spastic. There you go.
So I took it out to him.
Now I'm cancelled.
Yeah.
Now I'm cancelled. That word.
I
Sorry,
took,
now go.
the bass out to him to set it up, and he'd just been to a gig,
Yeah.
and I think Ollie Thorpe gig, I think, the night before, and
Oh, nice.
Miles was playing drums, so he sort of introduced me to this this player called Miles Thomas. So
Man,
I've been sort of tracking him a little bit, and and then seeing him playing on your songs, pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So that song, have you recorded that?
I have the song "I Won't Go to Waste." I have that YouTube the version that you saw, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I would actually suggest that people listen to it on YouTube, because the way something happened with the master and uploading it to Instagram, if you hear it, I hate to tell you this, but there's actually some low-level distortion on the Instagram post.
Okay.
And that can happen with something to do with the mastering. Because, again, this is years ago. I mean, I still don't really think I really know what I'm doing, as far as like that tech side of things is concerned.
Okay.
But anyway, but I do have a complete studio version of that piece, and it's very different. I had Miles on it. I had Bill Risby play piano on it. I don't think he was available on that particular day. And then it's different. It's almost a different tempo even. Like that is a lot. That's the live version of that particular song. And I have the master of that live version. So I may actually do a release to streaming.
I think you should.
Live version.
So I'll find
the
the YouTube link, and I'll put it in the show notes of this episode. So if you people listening want to know that song, click on it. So
oh man, I'd super appreciate that. Yeah, if you just go type "I Won't Go to Waste" by Paul Mason into YouTube. I've been doing these little guitaring around episodes as well, where I just sort of play and So I was thinking, I see people like Tom Bukovac in Nashville just putting out a video of them just vibing. They're putting out a lot of content, and that's how you build your sort of audience.
Yep.
And that's the thing. I still think having a fucking great song and a great, video of a great, and that was the aim that I wanted to do with recording that song that you mentioned.
Yep.
But it's still not enough today. You need to be posting all the time, and you need to be like playing that TikTok game. And it's like, I want my life to be simpler. I want my incredible band to be as big as Kiss. And then just because of that, I want to be able to fill a 400-seat theater in any city I go to and play whatever I want to play.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do,
That's good.
And I mean, it's like with a bit of advertising help and a little bit of elbow grease. Yeah, like I can do I put 200 people in that venue in Melbourne that your friend was at.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of work to do it. But I love it, and it's an amazing night. So yeah, I'm like super keen to just keep doing that, and it's really nice to hear some encouragement for the original stuff that I've been doing as well, because it's so easy for that. It sucks, but it's so easy for that. That's all I need. I need to have that not be taking such a back burner position.
Yeah.
Like I actually need to really kind of prioritizing that a little bit more.
Yep. You need a social media manager or something, or upload guru, so they can pick a better fucking thumbnail.
Well, exactly. That thumbnail is. I actually wrestled with that, but I'll have a look at it now actually. But the thumbnail on that, it is absolutely rubbish. But for some reason, I can remember really wrestling with it and going fuck, I have to settle with that for some reason. On YouTube, you can actually pick which one you want. I'll go.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think it's something to. It's not. It might be something to do with the. Like I think to change the thumbnail, I would have had to repost the video.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, and I'd lose the bloody. Because you see on I don't want to lose my bloody 60, 70 comments or whatever that are there, and if I was like all of the other bloody idiots that I see go through and I'll reply to every single comment, so instead of 70, now they've got a clip with 170 because they've replied to everything. I'm like, it's all fake.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, thanks. So, You know what I mean? Like it's just all. I mean, sure, play the game,
Play
but it's
the
like,
algorithm. You got to work the algorithm, man.
yeah, and I like, look, I see that maybe I'm starting to get bitter. I probably
Old.
am,
I think
but
you're getting old, mate. You're getting old.
oh, mate, I was old. I was old years ago. I was
Yeah.
old in. Yeah, but you know what it's like. It's just it's the music thing. Like it's such a minefield. But no, you're absolutely right. Like I definitely, that thumbnail needs to go.
Yeah. All right, man. I know you got a meeting to go to, so we'll
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
I got to find a drummer for this gig tonight.
You do, yeah. So we'll wrap this up. But man, I've had a great afternoon sitting hanging with you, man. It's
Hey, yeah,
so
man.
good.
Me too, bro.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Shame we're not in the same room, but that'll happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all right. We'll let's absolutely stay in touch. And yeah, man, I'll see you on the 10th. Hopefully,
Yes, absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
Yep, I'll be there.
Awesome.
All right, brother. Take it easy, Paul. All right. See you, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Big
bro.
love.
Bye.
Thanks to all your listeners. Sending love.
Cheers, bro.
Yeah. Big love, brother. Thanks again.
You too.